Quality assurance and improvement program. That's our domain 4, which we have to learn today. So we have to describe the benefits of quality assurance and improvement program, list the required elements of a quality assurance and improvement programs, internal assessment, and list the required elements of quality assurance and improvement program of an external assessment, including the competent parties who can actually do that quality assurance and improvement program. So quality assurance overview, quality assurance and improvement program is an evaluation process of the internal audit activity. Quality assurance and internal improvement program includes 2 assessments. One is internal assessment, the other one is external assessment. So internally we can do an assessment, as well as externally we can conduct an assessment. The chief audit executive and board should evaluate the need for more frequent assessment. So purely it's up to the internal auditors, chief internal auditor and the audit committee, right, or the board in this case. They'll be decide how much of quality assurance we might need. Even an internal audit function that is fully outsourced must have a designated quality assurance and improvement program. See, even if outsourcing your internal auditors, right, not a problem, you can outsource, but somebody in the organization should be overlooking them, right? I mean, you don't just outsource and give to someone else. So someone else will be overlooking that function, isn't it? That person should make sure there is a quality assurance and improvement program. Now, for example, you are a financial accountant. So your company has asked to establish an internal audit department. So you got PwC or Berkeley to come and run the internal audit department for you. But even though you are there, right, you should make sure that the quality assurance program is in place even at that level. So that's why if when you outsource, you can ask from the same audit firm, right, fine guys, you will do our internal audit, not a problem, but can you give us a quality assurance and improvement program as well? So what are the benefits of having a good quality assurance and improvement program? So if you have a strong quality assurance and improvement program, right, it verifies conformance with IPPF. You can proudly say, look, we are certified, we are IPPF certified. We are complying with international professional practice framework. So to the audit committee, to the boards, to anyone who question you, you can tell, look, we are complying with a particular standard when you are doing the audit. So you can't find fault with us. Now, in the worst case, I mean, see, when it comes to Sri Lanka, these are quite new things when it comes to our country, because number one, the internal audit teams are not expected to be qualified. Sorry about that. So when it comes to Sri Lanka, the audit teams are not expected to be qualified. In Colombo, there is a mindset anyone can be an internal auditor, number one, right? So you don't need a certification. That's a mindset many people in Colombo has. That is the other reason is the companies which are hiring internal auditors also not requesting for a certified internal auditor. So that's a other reason why we don't have proper internal audit certification in place. So on top of that, when you say that you are complying with IPPF, in Colombo, many people don't understand what is IPPF. Even the audit committees do not understand what is IPPF. Why it is important for an internal auditor to follow the standards. In my personal view, internal audit is like a mystery for many people. right? The people who are outside the industry, for them, it's like a mystery. It's like we don't know what happens inside. Whether internal auditors are doing a proper job or not, nobody knows. If you ask from many CEOs, they would say, I don't think my internal audit department is doing a good job, right? Very rarely you will find a CEO who will come and tell you, look, my internal audit department is perfect. It is acting as the engine of my whole organization. No, right? Very rarely you will find someone saying like that. When it comes to IPPF, I mean, when it comes to even court cases, it's difficult to prove whether the internal auditor has fulfilled his promise or not. Now, for example, there was a big massive fraud. It was detected. There'll be always a question, where is the internal auditor? Why he did not pick up the fraud, right? So, I mean, as an internal auditor, it's practically not possible for us to pick all the frauds. But what we have to tell is, look, we are doing a work according to a framework. In our framework, it's not, I mean, when I did the work according to the framework, it was not captured. That we should be able to explain. If you can do that, then we can save ourselves. To do that, we have to make sure that we are following a framework, IPPA, the internal auditing standards. Now, to tell, how can we tell the other people that we are complying with IPPA? At the start of my career, like a foolish person, I just put in my audit reports, I used to put, if I was not even CI at that time, I used to put, this audit confirms with IPPF framework. I can't put like that. That's wrong. Because for me to tell that I'm complying with IPPF, right, there should be internal assessments, there should be external assessment. So even though Colombo is not valued that much, if you look at across the world, if an internal audit department or if the internal audit report is IPPF confirming, means it has additional value. The board or the directors all understand the need for internal auditors to comply with the standard, and they are happy that their audit team is complying with the standards. Don't worry, in Sri Lanka, things are changing. IIA Sri Lanka is working on improving the requirements and the status of the profession. So if you have what you call quality assurance and improvement plan in place, it helps to assess the efficiency and effectiveness of the internal audit activity. Now, there are sometimes so many crazy comments request comes. For example, once in one company which I was working for, they asked from me, hey, internal auditor, annually, how much savings you can bring in? Okay, so technically they should not have asked, but I'm also young and stupid that time. So I just told, I don't know, I told some number like 100 million or 200 million or whatever savings I can bring, okay, from the internal audit. Then I brought it also, right? So what I did was, now here are the findings, right? For example, in one place, the bank reconciliation is not performed properly. So we audit and we fix the problem. So then what I do is, if I don't fix that problem, how much would have been the loss for the company for the next 12 months? Understood? For example, if I take the bank reconciliation, total bank reconciliation, generally the amount totally getting reconciled is, let's say, 100 million. Sorry, anyway, let's say 10 million per month. So if it is not reconciled, how much can be the biggest problem? And what frequency? So I developed some framework saying that maximum fraud or error which can happen based on past experience is 5%, and that if you apply for 12 months, this much. So from my bank reconciliation review, I have brought in savings worth of X amount of million, which is a stupid argument, but the board believed it, and the audit committee also believed in. They appreciated me for inventing a new way of showing value for internal audit, but I don't think that we should do that, right? So that creates, then people might lose their confidence on the internal auditor also. Next year in the same company, I brought this, okay, fine, I will report it, but the other party has to confirm it like that. I made it a little bit tough, but still we were able to do it. But that should not be the way of doing it. So identify the improvement opportunities for the IAA, internal audit activity, right? If you do a quality assurance and improvement program, you can see where you can improve your internal auditors and state that internal audit activities are conformance with IAA's IPPF in the internal audit charter and the audit reports. So only if you are complying, if you are having a QAIP only, you can go and tell yourself, look, I am IPPF compliant, right? My internal audit reports are complying with IPPF. So internal assessment, that is ongoing monitoring. Now, this is what Guy spoke about. So what we should do, these are the few things what we are supposed to implement when it comes to our internal audit activity. Number one, obtaining feedback from audit clients, right? Possibly through client satisfaction surveys. One of the most important things we should do is we have to ask from our clients, look, guys, that we have to ask from our clients that what do you think about our audit? At the end of the audit, we have to give a small questionnaire to our auditees, the people who are getting audited by us, and ask from them, what did you feel? How was the internal audit? Did we cover all the areas what you were expecting us to cover? Did we identify the problems properly? Were we polite? Were we professional? Right? Asking these kind of questions and trying to understand whether the internal audit has done a proper job or not is important if you want to improve QAIP. Not only for internal audit, for anything in your life, always get feedback. Always ask feedback from other people, right? Be open. Welcome feedback. Even other person. Now, when you are giving feedback, always give in a constructive manner, right? Not to destroy other people. But we can't expect that. Now, for example, if I'm telling someone, hey, great job, these areas you would have done a little bit more. That is constructive. If I say bad job, few areas you have done well, but terribly bad job, that is criticism. The ultimate objective of providing a feedback is not to find fault with the other person. It's actually to improve other person. So if you are giving negative feedback, if you are giving destructive feedback to other people, you are just destroying them. It can be your subordinates, it can be your colleagues, it can be sometimes the people whom you are reporting to. So therefore, do not give feedback which will destroy other people. Rather, give feedback which will, develop other people, improve other people. So obtaining feedback from audit clients is very important. Obtaining feedback from the stakeholders is also very important. So once in a quarter, ask from your MD, ask from your board of directors, whether you are meeting their requirements or not. Where is our problem? What are the areas we have to improve? Number three, reviewing of audit objectives, scope, budget, timekeeping, and resources during the engagement. So what is the goals of the audit? Say, for example, you are doing the audit of a cafeteria process. So what is your objective? What do you want to improve there? Right? What sections you have to check? Whether you have done it or not done after the audit. Checking that whether you have really reached the audit objective or not. The scope of the audit, right? How good is that? I mean, what areas we are supposed to cover? Have we covered that area or not? Right? Budget. Some people think internal auditors are free service. No, there's a budget for the internal audit. Every internal audit activity, what we are doing there should be a budget, right? So in the budget, we are supposed to mention like how many hours we have worked, what areas we have, what we have identified, what kind of people we have put, what's the expert level we have utilized. There should be a budget. There should be some sort of timekeeping for the whole assignment, how many days taking, what is your planned number of days, what's your actual number of days. There should be some sort of a timekeeping there. And the resources, whether we got the adequate resources, whether our internal auditors are having the right knowledge and skill set to perform the audit, or they don't have that skill set, they don't have the knowledge. Review at the end of the audit, review all these matters, right? At the end of the audit, what we normally do, we just review the audit report and we put to the client or put to the auditee. That's not the right practice. The right practice is establish the objectives properly. At the end of the audit, check whether audit objectives are met. Have we covered the audit scope? What happened to our budget? Are we within the budget or above the budget? Timekeeping, right? That is, have we done the audit within the time? Have we utilized our resources properly during the engagement? If not, is there a problem with our resources? Should we upskill our resources or not? That need to be checked. Developing and using checklists to ensure required elements of the internal audits are completed. So have your checklist for internal audit. Now that's called internal audit completion checklist, right? Most of the audit departments I know, they don't have it, but it's a must to have. You have to have an internal audit completion checklist, which says, right? Which says, for example, whether the scope has been properly covered or not covered. So my battery is running low. Okay. So the internal audit completion checklist is where, like, you will be having questions like the list of scope, whether it's covered or not covered, review number one has done or not, review number two has done or not, are the audit evidence are properly stored in a proper folder, right? The access to the folder has been restricted now, right? Closed, the audit is over, so it has been closed from the auditees who have participated, or it's still open. There are a reason for that. I'm talking about a big audit firm, big internal audit practice. Plus the audit report issue date, when it was issued, whether feedback obtained or not obtained, when it will be released to audit committee, whether it has been released or not released. So every audit has to have a audit completion checklist. So let me ask a question from Roshini. Roshini, can you show me an internal audit? Roshini, you are joining from your phone or from your computer?
From the phone, sir.
Okay. What about you, Guy?
From my laptop, sir.
So is it possible to show me an internal audit completion checklist by sharing the screen?
We don't have one, sir. We don't have
That's
like
not
a completion checklist, but we do like send the feedback surveys to our clients at the end of the year after we complete like our plan, not after each audit. So we don't have a completion checklist as to say, sir.
okay. So, but I taught you something. No? I mean, I told you last time, right? I mean, you should be able to always generate something out of Gemini. Okay. So in the current context, there's nothing called no. I don't have everything you have. Just click of a button. Can you generate one internal audit checklist and show us?
Okay, sir.
You can, if possible, you can share the screen and show us how does a internal audit checklist may look like. Show me your prompt. Now, where's your prompt? Like, what's the prompt you gave? Just internal audit checklist. Completion checklist, which has to be used at the end of the audit. See, when you're giving prompt, you have to be very more descriptive. Wait, huh? No, wait. Okay, that's fine. Oh, okay, like improve that. Then provide an internal audit completion checklist, which has to be used at the end of the each audit to ensure. Continue that. That internal audit is completed properly, all documents are saved properly, and internal audit complies with requirements of IPPF, of IIA. So you give a descriptive prompt, then you get a better answer. Now you try. Here we go. Now you have a checklist that comply with the IPPF directly, right? So you have the final review of audit working papers. Go down. So ensure that findings align with audit objectives to confirm each finding gives a clear root cause, risk implication, right? Now it's very easy. You can just type in saying that upload this to a Excel. You type upload this to an Excel, upload this to a spreadsheet. You've got an Excel document. Great. And then you quickly format it and put yes or no and remarks column, yes, no, remarks column. Then some sort of a checklist is ready. And thereafter, it's about improving it further and further. Right? You give more prompts, you give more questions, then automatically your internal audit checklist is done. Okay, so next time, if someone asks something is something you don't have or whatever, don't say that you don't have, that you can create it within few couple of seconds. Shall I take
Yes.
over the screen?
Yes, yes.
So that's about the developing checklist to ensure required elements of the audits are completed. Then supervising engagement, including providing review notes and feedbacks. So ensuring um, that we are properly reviewing the engagements, providing and the support. We are properly supervising the engagement, right? We are going, I mean, documenting and ensuring that we are going and supervising the teams and making sure that their work is getting reviewed and the work is giving on-time feedback we are giving. See, most of us sometimes once the audit is over, only we give feedback. That's useless. More time as a senior audit member, more time you spend on audit planning, more time you spend on supervising what is happening, will create much easier report to review. Less time you spend on audit planning, less time you spend on audit supervising, will result in your audit juniors doing so much of unnecessary thing and wasting time, not doing the productive or most important thing, and finally ending up in getting a audit report which is not worthy enough. Then you may have to review, you may have to put queries, and they have to go back and clear queries, redo the audit work, and come back. It can be an utter waste of time. So don't focus more on review, but focus more on planning and supervision. What will happen is automatically your need for review will come down. Establishing and assessing audit performance matrix. That's other important thing, right? What is a audit? What are the audit performance matrix? Roshini, can you tell me one KPI which you will put for your internal audit department? If you are,
Um,
it doesn't have to be one which you are already having, but I'm just asking, like, what can be the KPI you will put to an internal audit department?
uh, like finishing the assigned audits in time.
That's the most famous one, isn't it? Okay. So completion of audit plan on time is one of the KPI. I would say that should not be a KPI. Let me explain that. Guy, what will you put as a KPI for your audit team?
So the recommendations that are accepted by the auditing.
Sorry about that. So recommendations are accepted by the auditee. Yeah, that's true, but it's very difficult to monitor, isn't it? Like when the audit report go up and down a couple of times, you can remove the things which they are not accepting and show as entire thing is accepted.
Yeah, so I think I reword it. So the rate of implementation of the recommendation, like whether the auditee has implemented the recommendations or not, like the rate, like.
Yeah, so those are good points. Actually, those are being used, but there's a catch in that as well. The reason is the implementation is not in your control, right? So I would prefer the first one better than the second one, because if you take an internal auditor where the client is going to implement that properly. For example, there's a, let's say there's a accountant is not there in the supermarket or some or supermarket chain, so you recommended to put it, but the HR department did not put on time, even though you followed up, you did your stuff, but they did not do it on time. Then you will get affected. You will not get your bonus. So let me tell you something now. If you take your remuneration, there are three things in your remuneration. You can see my screen, isn't it? Can you guys see my whiteboard?
No, sir.
I can see it,
Can
sir.
see now. Okay. You can see?
No, sir, I can't see. It's still the PowerPoint.
It may be just go to the Zoom. It may be showing in one more tab sometimes. White screen or something.
No, let me leave and join again.
Okay. So if you take the client, or if you take the payments, what we get, so we get salary and we get bonus, we get increment. The salary what you are getting is to do your JD. You have a job description. Of course, as an internal auditor, completion of internal audit plan will be in your job description. Am I right, Roshni?
Yes, sir.
So you are getting paid your salary for completing your audit plan. You should not go and ask for a bonus for completing your audit plan, right? Now, bonus is given. You are expanding. You are doing something extraordinary, right? That's why you are getting a bonus. So, for example, last year you did 100 audits. This year you're going to do 120 audits. For this, you might get bonus. Last year you performed only financial audits. This year, first time, you're going to do a cultural audit. For that successful completion of a cultural audit, you should get bonus, right? Either you are changing your scope and developing your audit content, or you are increasing your number of audits, covering more places. Maybe, yeah, audit of a new company. The client has purchased the company has there's a new subsidiary which has been purchased. You're auditing the new company. In such case, you are becoming a, what do you call, auditor. I mean, you are entitled for bonus. Now, once you achieve these things as a bonus, then what happens, Roshini? This becomes normalized now, right? The new things you did, 120 audits, new areas you covered, and all will become normalized, and they'll go back to your JD, job description. Once it has gone back to your job description is getting enriched. So once that get enriched, right, you are entitled, there'll be a scoring. Okay. Based on the scoring, sorry, not here, based on the scoring, you may be entitled for a promotion. Understood? So now you are doing more audits, you are doing more areas, more companies. So now you are no longer, and you are managing more people. Now you are no longer a assistant manager. Now you are a manager, right? So you're getting promoted. The increment normally given for not, sorry, increment is actually what do you call inflation adjustment. If you are not getting an increment, I mean, if the company can't give a full, I mean, if you are not your job has improved, but it's not enough to get a promotion, in that case also you can go for increment, right? Other thing, anyhow you have to get increment which is at least equivalent to the inflation. If your inflation is if the country's inflation is, let's say, 15%, and you're getting a increment of 10%, that means you're actually losing money there. You're getting less money than previous years, which happened to most of us who lived in Sri Lanka. So the other important thing which I wanted to tell you from there is, yeah. So the performance matrix, what we may have to put is things like, as I told you, the percentage, I mean, completing more than the internal, right? So completing new areas. and feedback from audit committee, feedback from auditees. I would accept Guy's first one, the number of audits, number of recommendations. Got accepted. Not the implementation part, which I can agree, because that's not in our control. Okay, so let's move on. And then continuously improving of internal audit activities. So these are the things what we should do. So periodic assessment. So internal audit has to be periodic. Assessment has to be periodic. Say once in 3 months, once in 6 months, it has to change. So when you are doing an internal assessment, you have to see reviewing technology used by auditors. Okay. Now, recently I went to a workshop, and what I heard there, one of the speaker was telling, if we are using an old technology, right, then we are outdated. Now, for example, if you are sitting today and using the typewriter, you are an outdated person. So then only one thing strike my mind was the spreadsheets, Excels. From the time the computer started up to now, Excel is as it is, isn't it? No change. Now we have many things like R programs are there. Python you can use to develop what you call analytical engines. So it has to change. So one thing, but we have to assess and see is the internal auditor changing his technology? What is he still using? Is he still on a paper and pen filing the records in the storeroom, or he has moved on? Assessing the internal audit policies and procedures. So whether policies and procedures are in line with IPPF requirement. Sampling completed engagements to evaluate quality and conformance to IAA standards and internal audit procedures. So verifying whether we have properly completed our audits in line with IPPF requirements, whether our audit files comply with IAA standards and the audit department's internal procedures. Now you have the IAA standards plus how you're going to work, you'll be having an internal procedures, no? So whether these are complying or not complying also will be checked by the quality assessors, internal quality assessors, to see whether you are meeting the quality requirement. Then we go to an external assessment. External assessment occurs at least once every 5 years by a qualified independent assessor, right? So there's a qualified independent assessor, like there are qualified people, as I showed you earlier. If you have completed quality assessment reviewer course, then you can apply and you can become a independent quality assessor of IIA. In Sri Lanka, there are 1 or 2. Sometimes we get people from Malaysia to do this quality assessment. It occurs at least once every 5 years by a qualified independent assessor. 2 approaches. We can go for a full external assessment offered by IIA, independent accounting firms, consulting firms, and peer entities, right? So if you take PwC, KPMG, IIA itself, all of them are offering this external assessment. You can apply and go for that. Or you can go for it's a lesser one, that is you can do a self-assessment and your assessment will be validated by an independent party, right? So you can go for a full assessment, or you can full external assessment, or you can go for a internal assessment, and then you can do it along with the you can go for independent validation. So Yeah, that depends. Like if you're a young audit firm, audit activity, internal audit activity, and if you don't have much experience, then you can go for a self-assessment with an independent validation. If you're a experienced internal audit firm or audit department, then you can go for a full assessment, right? In my experience, most of the audit firms have gone for audit activities have gone for full assessment. Because first of all, we had to have a good knowledge of how to do a independent self-assessment. So if I look at your text here, it says few matters like, for example, a good quality assurance program should have policy, methodology and process, people, systems, communication, and reporting. Sampling. After internal assessments are completed, a report is issued identifying areas for improvement and showing corrective plans. After external assessments are completed, a report is issued identifying areas for improvement and showing corrective plans. After uncovering an impairment to independence, to objectivity, audit scope, restrictions or limitations, and resource limitations for audit and audit clients, a report is issued with a documented details and evidence. After completing internal assessments and external assessment, a report is issued showing a conformance rating scale, whether it generally confirms or partially confirms or does not confirm. So after internal assessment or external assessment, always give a report which shows whether you are fully compliant with the IPPF requirement, partially, or not at all. So conformance is actually complying with the, now when you say the internal audit activity is confirming with the IPPF, there's no impairment or threat to independence and objectivity. There's no audit scope restrictions or limitations. There's no resource limitations for auditors and audit clients. People performing internal and external assessment possess collective knowledge, skill, and experience. Risk was explicitly considered during the development of annual and individual audit plans. There are no peer review risk and audit work sampling risk during internal and external audit assessment, right? So you make sure that the peer review and everything is happening properly, right? The audit activity is happening properly. You make sure that, and if you make sure, only you can apply for full conformance. Can both of you give me one example of non-conformance? When you say the internal audit activity is not complying with the quality requirement. Roshini?
When the internal audit division is not independent.
Very good. G? Sorry, G?
Mm.
When you do the audit plan, you did not consider risk in the process.
Yeah. So risk assessment is not performed.
Not that. Internal audit activity did not conduct external assessment at least once in 5 years. An internal auditor did not meet an individual objectivity requirement during the audit engagement, independence requirement, like what Roshini told. An audit engagement did not have auditors possessing collective knowledge, skills, and experience. The chief audit executive and managers and supervisors failed to consider risk when developing the audit plan. Right. So those are the key points. Next, we should do still in the domain 4, we're going to cover the details of it. That's basically quality assurance and improvement program. What are the matters we are supposed to report? What are the matters we are supposed to disclose? And then we're going to go for a question practice. Right.